particular, the Pac-12. So it was a discussion largely about where the Big 12 places among the Power Five. And for different reasons, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the ACC have stood out over the last couple of seasons, again, for different reasons in different ways. I find it intriguing that the Pac-12, to me, just a couple years ago, was starting to challenge the SEC in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, maybe not necessarily at the very tip top of the conference, although Oregon was right there playing for a national championship. But because of the depth of the Pac-12 and the quality depth of the Pac-12. So I think the league still has depth. Like, it doesn't have awful teams, but it doesn't have the quality of depth that it did. Oregon has fallen way off. Even programs like Arizona State that were winning 8 and 9 football games were awful last season. So you certainly alluded to the Big 12 matching up favorably with the Pac-12. I didn't discount that in any way. I just I couldn't take a stand on it. So I thought it would be an interesting discussion and possible debate to match up the Big 12 versus the Pac-12. And this is something I do typically in the offseason, and it's not based on metrics. It's not scientific in any way. It's just based on perception and conjecture. How would these leagues fare against one another? So Chris and I, before we started recording here, matched up what we believe the top to bottom ranking should be in each conference. And then we'll just go through some hypothetical matchups. So Oklahoma State is a difficult differentiation to make, but for argument's sake here, we're going with Oklahoma State with the home matchup with Oklahoma getting an edge in the conference race. So we go Oklahoma State taking on USC. Now, how would you see that one playing out?
Well, it's hard because I don't know if USC has proven their number 4 ranking going into this year. We'll see what they have, obviously, but Oklahoma State, I think if they had a better logo on their helmet with what they have returning in that offense, that if they have a defense that, one, creates turnovers like they usually do, and just 2, can basically just be a speed bump to another offense, then Oklahoma State's going to win a lot of games. You're not going to get into a shootout and outpace the Cowboys. It's going to be extremely difficult. And they have the sheer amount of weapons in 5 wide receivers that can play for anybody, a 1,000-yard rusher, a Heisman candidate quarterback, that even the most challenging defense, given enough time, they're probably going to be able to unlock that defense. So I think Oklahoma State, I think the Cowboys, even though they come in at 10th in the AP poll, could give USC a run for their money and pull that. It would be viewed as an upset nationally, but I think the Cowboys can get that win.
So I think one aspect of this process in discussing, debating, and rating these conferences and these hypothetical matchups that makes it a little bit more legit is we both know that if we rank each conference and start to go through hypothetical matchups, that there are some matchups that would strike us as this is a mismatch. This is going to be a blowout most times when these two teams play. So I think to make it more of a fair discussion and bring a little bit more context to it, and we discuss this, is that we discuss, okay, what would happen if the two teams played 10 times? Because some of the matchups are going to be very difficult to figure out, wow, who would win this game? Well, if they play 10 times, I'm pretty comfortable that it's going to be 6-4 or 5-5. So how close would you think a 10-game series would be between USC and Oklahoma State?
Oh, I think USC could get a game or so, right? No, I'm just kidding. I see it to be pretty even, probably 5-5, because I do think Oklahoma State's offense is just going to be unbelievable. And because of that, people are underselling the defense and what they have returning there. They lost some guys in the secondary, but if you're going to take your most proven corner and move him to safety, then that's a pretty good indication that they like who they have at the corner position. So I definitely wouldn't sleep on the Cowboys.
I'm thinking that most of College Football Nation would put Oklahoma in that slot against USC. Name brand wins. It shouldn't, because we need to evaluate the 2017 teams. I'm thinking USC wins 6 or 7 times against Oklahoma State. Again, I'm gaining more and more of your listeners and followers from the Big 12 to jump onto Mark Rogers TV as I speak, I'm sure.